Number one, what do you have to say?
So I think we've chatted before, maybe on another account of mine. This is probably my 15th, 16th account. I'm not sure at this point. I'm friends with James Lindsay, and I've
Oh,
no,
oh,
I
here we
know.
go.
Hold on,
Here
hold
we
on,
go.
hold on.
Here we go.
No, I'm on your team. I'm Team Carolyn. Listen, hold on.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
Team Carolyn,
Okay.
and
We're back.
I've tried to talk to James about this multiple times. Um, is there any idea of a time you guys could do a sit down and actually like discuss and mull over really what you guys differences are? Because his whole idea is that it's Gnosticism, and that's something I've argued with him for at this point years. Like, it's not Gnosticism, it's called Jews. It's literally called Jews. It's not Gnosticism, it's Jews. And I think that you have been a really great voice with, you have a following that's awesome, and we appreciate that. So, do you see him being it? Because we're kind of on the in and out right now. I'm not, I've gotten a little angry at him based on some of his rhetoric, anti-Nick rhetoric particularly. So, do you see that happening? Like, maybe
No.
coming to the table and talking.
No, I don't see that happening. But let me explain why I don't see that happening. And first of all, I want to say I really appreciate you coming up and saying that. I actually I really do, and I understand that you're probably going to get in trouble with him with whatever
Yeah, oh
relationship
yeah,
you
no,
guys
I
have
am.
left.
I'm
Yeah,
about to, yeah, I
yeah,
am.
you're about to get blocked. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I tried to work with James for years, literally years. Like I dedicated the whole last chapter in my book to him, and I meant it. I wrote it in 2021, so it was a long time ago. But James was instrumental in waking me up, and I will never take away from him that I think the reason I dedicated the last chapter in my book to him was because I truly believe that if everyone worked as hard as he did, we wouldn't have a problem right now. And so I took a lot of inspiration from him before I really started getting really, really, really dug into the far left stuff. And I don't take any of that back. But the fact is that I literally tried to work with James for years behind the scenes. I was trying to play with nice with James for years, and I could just never get a response from him. And it would be one of those things where James would do these things where he would attack friends of mine or he would go after people publicly. And I kind of DM him privately, I'd be like, do you really want to attack this person? They're like the best activist in New Hampshire. Can we just not? Can we just play nicely? And James would always end up blowing it out of proportion and making it worse. And I said nothing. I cannot tell you how many times I bit my tongue about all the things I disagreed with him about for literally years. Even when people would come into my content and complain to me about him, I'd be like, he has value. We just got to leave him alone. Just stop. We don't have to have this fight, whatever.
I've been on the same plane, just having to deal with the fact that and again, you can't say too much because at the same time, like, I mean, I value him as a friend. I mean, we became friends first and foremost. That we didn't even come to be friends from an academic perspective. It was just, we were just friends. Like, it was cool. I'm friends with his wife. I'm nice to him, and I care about his family, and I respect him. But at the same time, it's like, you have influence and you are refusing to say things that need to be said. And not only that, that would be acceptable if he weren't also at the same time attacking people like Nick Fuentes who are saying the things that need to be said.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And listen, I've said a million times, I don't agree with Nick on everything. But do you know what happens when I don't agree with Nick on something? I shut my mouth because Nick is too important, and what he's doing is too important, and we are perfectly capable of keeping our mouths shut. But to go on about James, I really think he's been bought and paid for by Moms for Liberty and Turning Point USA. I don't think that there's any chance that he's ever going to speak up against this stuff. And the reason I say that is the reason that James blocked me on Twitter is I literally criticized Moms for Liberty in his replies. That's why he
Okay,
blocked
well,
me on Twitter.
I definitely know about some of the funding issues. Like, that is actually a thing. Again, I don't want to get myself in, too hot of water, but I do think it's very disingenuous of him, especially, and for me, it really is just that, like, the personal attacks on Nick. That's what bothers me, and I do think that he's unfair to you as well.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, he's also made many personal attacks against me. And listen, like, All my community tried to do was we tried to get them to watch video that was primary source evidence from far left trainings. First of all, him and Logan Lansing and Wokel Distance, they ignore all this primary source video evidence. They literally refuse to watch it. And not only do they refuse to watch it, they're proud of the fact that they refuse to watch it. And so my community kept putting this stuff in James's Twitter feed to try to get him to pay attention to what was going on in the real world. He started blocking everyone. He started smearing everyone. He flat out told people, and then we have all this documented. He told people to block members of my community because we were a coordinated campaign against him. He told people, he photoshopped evidence to make it look like no one was watching my live streams. James has accused me multiple times of having serious personality disorders that I don't have. He has literally spread smear campaigns that have been going around about me for years that have always been debunked. He has supported people who are stalking me. And so the reason I say that I don't think there will ever be a sit down with James is there, like, I just don't see how that can happen. And I mean this too. And I would come to the table if James wanted to put everything aside and actually put on his fucking big boy pants and act like an adult and come to the table. I would do it, and I
Wait,
would
so
be paid
hold on,
responsibly. But I don't think he
Carolyn.
will.
If I were to maybe speak with him on a more rational level, like kind of, figure everything out. If I were to set up something, would you be willing to come to the table? Because I think I have a good ear with James, and I think I could make that happen if you were willing as well.
I would be willing to come to the table, but I will treat James how he treats me. And so if he comes at me, if he insults me, if he smears me, if he shit talks members of my community, then I will treat him in kind. But if he comes to the table and he behaves like an adult and there is an agreement upon an adult discussion, then I will do it and I will behave appropriately.
So you're saying there's a chance.
It's never been from my end. Literally for years. It has never been from my end. I had always hoped in my dream world, I saw what James and I were doing is actually a pretty good complementary match of each other because I purposefully started down the road I was
I
on
thought you
because
guys
he
were a
wasn't
team.
doing it. No, we have literally never spoken. We've never spoken about this. I started doing what I was doing because he wasn't doing it. And it's like, we need people. My thought process at the time was we need people attacking this from all fronts. And if he can get really deep into the philosophy of it, and I can get really deep into the real world application, that just makes sense to come together and marry those two things and say, what can we learn from this? How can we actually effectively fight back against this from both angles? I tried for years. He didn't want to do it.
I think that's where you guys clash is you have real world application and he is too caught up in the philosophical and theological versions of what the idea is. You have seen it. So it makes you angry. Whereas he dreams about it, writes about it, and he doesn't quite understand. And I've talked to him about this. That's actually something we've talked about. And I tried to explain to him, and that's why like I tried to get him like, as I say, quote unquote, Nick pilled. Like it's the Jews, not the Gnostics. It's that's the underlying root of all these problems. But I think that's where you guys clash is the fact that you actually are angry because you see the real world implications, whereas he is just philosophizing and he is just trying to obfuscate the actual problem.
It's not even that. It's that I'm legitimately terrified. I think the left is going to win, and I think they're going to win in within our lifetimes. I think there's going to be a Marxist revolution in this lifetime. It's like I'm watching them get all their chess pieces in place right now, and it's like they're right now probably like 3 dozen moves away from checkmate, but in 10, 15 years, they're going to be 3 moves away from checkmate. And that's when they're going to actually go. And that's when we're going to have violent overthrow of the fucking government. And I think that this is going to impact pretty much everyone that's alive today in the country in ways that most of them have no idea about. I watch people get their kids taken away. I watch people have their kids transitioned in school. I go to all these events. I'm around these people in person. James has never experienced the things I've experienced. And it's like, like at some point, if you actually care about this in the way that he claims to care about it, you put aside your fucking ego and you come to the table because if you don't, there are real people that are going to be affected by this. And I'm not going to apologize for like being passionate about this because if I wasn't passionate about this, I would have gone back and done corporate consulting a long ass time ago and made a lot more money and been a private person and had a lot better of a life. you know?
No,
So,
that's completely true. I'm not gonna get into personal things, but I do understand the idea that um people um I'm trying to wiggle around it really. I'm walking on the sun here. Um People are very in tune with their bank account. I'm not saying anything about James here, but I'm also not saying anything. If you
yeah,
catch my drift, I understand the problem here. I Yeah, that's all I'll say.
yeah.
Thank you for
So,
bringing me up.
no, thank you for having the conversation. I do appreciate it.